Hello once again, my friends, fellow historians, fellow modelers, fellow lovers of everything interesting. I've got a fantastic video for you today. I've been looking forward to this for, almost a year. Fellow lovers of the Titanic, I've shown you several models over the years of the R.M.S. Titanic. You guys that follow my channel know that I'm kind of addicted to the Titanic. I've also shown you all kinds of different models. The last one I showed you was the Ochre, the wood model. And we even took a look at the Eagle Moss build the Titanic. Well, I got something along those lines today that I just can't wait to dig into. I got my first shipment of the AGORA models build the R.M.S. Titanic. It feels like I've been waiting a year for this. So, I can't wait anymore. Let's take it over to the modeling desk and we're gonna look at what's in this wonderful box. Alright, can't wait to get into this wonderful kit. I've been looking forward to this for so long. I think I finally found like the Super Bowl of model kits when it comes to the Titanic. Alright, look at that. Beautiful AGORA models. Display on the inside. Let's see, they got a paperwork. And you know, before I start, I'm going to do the same thing that I do with you guys that we've been doing for the USS Enterprise from Eagle Moss. That build, I'm going to do a complete unboxing. I'm going to show you everything that comes in a shipment. And then the second video is going to be just the build. So let's start to take a look at what we got in here. And look at the beautiful, beautiful hull of the R.M.S. Titanic. Gorgeous. And I will go into everything in detail. I just want to kind of take a little quick look at what's in these packages. You can see there's a circuit board right there. Some more little, wonderful little pieces. And look, we got a speaker. All right, this is taped. Okay, so we got this. Look, we got a little screwdriver. And look at that beautiful Titanic. We got part of the bow. You can see where the anchor's gonna go. And on the other side, oh wow, look at that. A wooden deck. This thing is gonna be beautiful. You can see some of the small pieces. And again, we're gonna go into all of this. I just wanna give you like a quick little show on what's gonna be in it. So let's go over some of the smaller papers first. And look, we've got the little hooks where we can put it into a binder. And that looks to be everything. All right, so this is 4. Let's see if it goes in 3, 2, and this is 1. So why don't we do them in order? All right, let's get number 2. So we got 4, 3, 2, and 1. So let's take a look at this one first. This is the build the Titanic. A masterpiece of maritime modeling. Look at that beautiful model. And this is 1/200 scale, so this is the same size as the trumpeter. Look at that beautiful shot. Come aboard the most famous ship of all time, 110 years old, on. The story of Titanic is not just the story of the most luxurious and renowned passenger liner ever to be launched, it is also a fascinating tale of an era of rich tradition and exciting innovation. Tragically, the unthinkable happened on a dark night, April of 1912. The sinking of this famous ship was the most devastating maritime tragedy ever witnessed. And you can see this lovely, lovely picture. You could see the smoke coming out of the stacks. And the photo is on the bottom. The incredible ocean liner brought to life your imagination. In your magazine, discover how the Titanic was designed, how it was constructed at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, and what happened on the tragic maiden voyage. We take you aboard the ocean liner to discover all the details, from the engine room to the sumptuous lounges and restaurants, from the features in the cabins to the practical deck fittings. Page after page, the history, customs, art, and technological inventions of an era are revealed. So this is 1/200 scale, so this is not actual size. An iconic new model. Build your own piece of maritime history and raise the Titanic. Gives some information on the model itself. This amazing collection brings to life the most famous ocean liner the world has ever known and is faithfully reproduced model. The design is taken from the original construction plans to produce a masterpiece of modeling. With moving parts, working lights, smoke effects, and sounds, you can create your very own model to treasure. All the features of the parts of the model: photo etched brass, metal hull with panels and rivets. It's even got the remote control, operates moving parts, light, sound, and smoke effects when your model is complete. We got a running engine, rotating propellers, smoke effects. We got a die-cast metal hull. We've got interior lights adding to the sense of luxury with practical details including navigation lights. We've got the lifeboats. Lifeboats that line the decks are fitted to davits on the upper deck. Realistic accessories like the benches, rigging, and other detail realistically modeled. We've got winches, capstans, bollards, vents, and other details fitted to the wooden deck. The model is complete in 140 issues. All specifications correct at the time of publication. Model specifications to the parts may be subject to change during the collection due to production requirements. Panel of the hull can be removed to reveal the engine section. That's really what sold me. I mean, there's just so much to this model that just kind of blew my mind. And it shows you the magazine and the info that comes up in each issue. And coming in issue 2, you can see we got the ship, the Legend. We got more parts. And you can see eventually we're going to get the screwdriver set, the pocket watch, and that's with the 7 delivery. With the first delivery, we get the replica original poster, a tin poster. I don't see that yet. With the 3rd delivery, we get the binder. So this is going to be really, really fun to go through. So let's get started. We're going to start with book 1. All right, Titanic, the ship, the Legend. And this is magazine 1. And you can see Hatchet on the bottom. And much like the Star Trek from Eagle Moss, to build the Enterprise, you can see in this issue, Giant of the Sea, Date with Destiny, the contents, and that's Parts Pack 1. Going on to C, you can see this is titled Giant of the Sea, the Titanic Tragedy. In 1912, a vast ocean liner, the unsinkable Titanic, set across the Atlantic with a full passenger complement. The voyage ended in tragedy on a calm, moonless night. You see the illustration of her sinking. With the forward end of the hull hold of the starboard side, the ship went down bow first. The angle of the dive increased dramatically after 2 a.m. You can see the route. The route taken by Titanic from Belfast to the point of its shipwreck. The iceberg that sank Titanic. Obviously that's not the actual one, but it's very similar to that. Next we look at Captain Smith. Several series of commemorative stamps have been dedicated to the story of Titanic and its protagonists over the years. Captain Edwin John Smith, 1850 to 1912. Over here we see Captain Smith at age 62. At the time of the Titanic disaster, had been at the helm of White Star liners on their maiden voyages since 1904. Don't forget, he was the captain of the Olympic as well, before moving to Titanic. A Mountain of Steel, Part 1. I love pictures like that. The unsinkable liner started its life in a shipyard in Belfast, following in the footsteps of his sister ship, the R.M.S. Olympic, led the ship in the class. Titanic under construction at Harland and Wolff shipyards in Belfast. Gorgeous. In the White Star publicity brochure for the new ocean liner, the length of Titanic was proudly compared with the height of some of the most famous tall buildings in the world. We got the Bunker Hill Monument in Boston, public buildings in Philadelphia, the Washington Monument, Metropolis Tower in New York, the Woolworth Building in New York. White Star Liner's tripper screwer steamer Titanic is number 6. You can see it's tallest, taller than anything else. The next closest thing would be the new Woolworth Building in New York. The golden age of liners, and I love that advertisement. White Star Line's poster highlights the safety of speed and comfort of the new giants of the ocean. White Star Liner Titanic, 45,000 tons to New York from Southampton. Third class accommodations. I actually did a video showing you guys that. Obviously it wasn't the original, it was a reproduction of the original, but that was still really awesome to go through. It showed the third class of Titanic. Proper attire. We're dressed up in our best and prepared to go down like gentlemen. Famous words. The Guggenheims, you can remember the movie Titanic when they're sitting in their best clothes as they're sitting in the waters coming through the grand staircase. Here are some more advertisements. You can see the ship bell, Titanic. For every sailor, the bell, the heart of the ship. The sound accompanies every moment of life on board, striking a different rhythm to the chimes of clock on land. In tradition, a bell dates back to the time when the Navy was under sail, when a time was struck the 2 tolls in the hour and every 1 toll for every half hour. However, every 4 hours the bell had to be struck 8 times, indicating the change of watch. Chimes in rapid succession were a warning of danger, impending attack, and need to abandon ship. It's a naval tradition to use the ship's bell as a front for the baptism of children born to crew members. The bell of the Titanic was made by the foundry Thomas Utley and Company of Liverpool, who also made the brass portholes. The bell has never been recovered from the wreck. Perhaps this is lucky, as according to maritime tradition, it is bad luck to raise and ring the bell of a sunken ship. It would be a valuable item. A perfect replica used for the film A Night to Remember was auctioned by Christie's in 2013 for 20,000 quid or pounds. I'm not sure what that is. I think they brought up the bell of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and they put a plaque commemorating bell back in its place. So now we're going to move on, and this is part 1. And we're going to do the forecastle deck. And the parts in this issue, it shows you the deck well support panel, the wooden deck, the anchor, steam winch, the small skylight, the air vents, bits, ventilation ducts, the breakwater, the loading hatch, the steam valves, and the capstans. You can see it's kind of an adhesive that goes on the backing of the wooden deck. Let's see. Look at that. Take the anchor and the 3 winches, the air vents, and you can see they're going to go onto the deck, and you can see the bollards. The Titanic model has been designed to make it easy to assemble. If you do not have any previous modeling experience, for this reason we have kept the use of glue to a minimum. You take the ventilation duct and fit it to the deck between the central winch and the aft port bollard. Identify the fixing point for the hatch, 1L. Of course, that hatch cover is like famous, the front of the ship. Is that everything? Yep. And on the last page, you can see where we're going to put more fixtures in. The steam valves. And it shows the completed work. This shows the assembly work that has been completed so far on the forecastle deck. Looking beautiful. And that's part 1 for issue 1. Alright, I'll show you guys part 2. We've got the ship, the legend, Titanic, and this is number 2. You can see the front, the issue, the Giant of the Sea, A Date with Destiny, life on board. That's going to be fun. And you can see we've got the circuit board and we've got the speaker. We got the parts for this reciprocating engine, including columns, cylinders, crankshaft, pistons, plus a smoke generator and tester. Well, that's going to be pretty fun. The Titanic tragedy. Less than 45 minutes after striking the iceberg, it became clear that the great ship could not survive, despite the compartments being separated by watertight bulkheads. Films and documentaries dedicated to the Titanic tragedy began to appear as early as 1913. They all illustrate to dramatic detail the ship remained brightly illuminated for almost the entire duration of the sinking. This photograph is a frame from the film A Night to Remember in 1958, which was directed by Roy Ward Baker. You know, if I'm not mistaken, I even think the Nazis or Hitler's film company or movie production company in World War II had done a documentary or a film on Titanic. It just goes to show you that everybody's fascinated by this tragic and absolutely gorgeous ship. You can see this nice big illustration of how the compartments filled. This drawing from a newspaper at the time shows the deck arrangement, the length of the gash, and the gradual flooding of the hull. And of course it rose over. The bulkheads didn't go all the way to the top. You guys may or may not know the story, that once the water started flooding through, there was nothing to stop the water, so it just went over the next bulkhead level. It would fill, cross over to the next, and it did that all the way until the ship couldn't take the weight of the water. And what's this? We got a clarinet. The famous Titanic bands, which were legendary for the dramatic role they played during the shipwreck, did not have a clarinet player. Among the 8 musicians who played a trio or quintet were string players and a pianist, but no woodwind players. The ship with over 2,000 count on board is likely there would be some other musicians, professionally traveling overseas, or an amateur simply wanting to liven up a long voyage by entertaining friends. Perhaps in the salons that were popular with second and third class passengers. However, there's no record of the owner, but this clarinet survived and is now part of Titanic memorabilia. J. Bruce Ismay, the owner. Soon after the sinking of Titanic, rumors began to circulate about the behavior of one of the survivors. Following an investigation, his reputation was ruined forever. You can certainly understand why. I mean, it seems like a cowardice act just to make sure he's on the lifeboat, regardless of the way he may have put it. Ismay, resting his chin on his hand in the center, is questioned by the Senate Investigative Committee. The hearings into the tragedy were held at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City and began on the 19th of April, 1912. And I've actually done a video showing you guys the official report from the Senate committee. You can see a photo of J. Bruce Ismay. Brilliant, strong-willed, fascinating, and is the portrait taken before 1912. J. Bruce Ismay perfectly embodies the image of the successful man. He was at the time of the tragedy. After the sinking of Titanic, his life was never the same again. Of course, he had taken over for his father. Hot cruise line, Italian style. Titanic's galleys were a world unto themselves, and the staff were effectively a crew within the crew, under pressure from dusk till dawn as much as the sailors. Photographic records show the smiling and hopeful faces of chefs, sous chefs, waiters, and sommeliers, convinced that a professional experience of the most famous ship in the world would be a springboard for a great career. Most of them died when the ship went down on 15th of April. I love these pictures. You can see the ocean continued to return furnishings and equipment from the various restaurants, all bearing the mark of the White Star Line, a white star in a red field of a naval flag. You can see that right there. Look at this. I love these photos. I recently got the Titanic, the ship Magnificent, and they got some really phenomenal photos in that book. Stylish furniture and fine finishings characterize the first-class restaurants. The a la carte restaurant, which is at the left, the more intimate and exclusive, while the main restaurant above was huge and sparkled with lights and mirrors. Okay, now we do the assembly. We've got the port hull section, the lower bow, the upper bow. We got the nameplate, connecting panel, and we got the screwdriver, and we got the screws. So this is relatively straightforward. And it looks like we're going to have the bow section complete after this section. It's going to be very fun. Very fun indeed. And that was magazine number 2. All right, we got magazine number 3 now. And I like how each magazine has its own, or each issue has its own magazine. The Eagle Moss actually has, for each shipment, there's one magazine. But I still like that too. I mean, that's been a great series. Continuing the assembly of the hull and upper and lower port hull sections. And a cry for help. The map on the left shows the ice line, the floating icebergs in the Northwest Atlantic at the time of Titanic's voyage. Some of the ships were in the same area are also visible: the Parisian, Virginian, Carpathia, Baltic, and the Olympic. And you can see this. One of the telegrams sent by radio operators on board Titanic. The message was recorded as being sent at 11:45 p.m. on the night of 15th of April that read, "We have struck an iceberg, sinking fast, come to our assistance." And again, that's very chilling. I had shown you guys, I had done a special video on all the reproduction of the investigation, and I had shown you guys some of the warnings and the ice warnings that were received as well. The wireless cabin. Now this is not the Titanic. At least I don't think so. This is not the Marconi room on a Titanic. Let's see. This photo shows a typical radio operator's room on an ocean liner. Yeah, this is not the Marconi room on a Titanic. One of the ways you can tell, as far as I know, there's only one photograph, and there's a double exposure on it. And that's how you can tell that that's the actual photograph from the Marconi room on a Titanic. The one on Titanic was larger and better equipped because everything on board was state-of-the-art. It was fitted with a powerful system supported by a network of antennas suspended high between the two main masts of the ship. Radio room was entrusted to two young operators, Jack Phillips, 25, and Harold Bride, who was only 21. Phillips lost his life in a tragedy and his body was never found. Bride survived and died in Glasgow in 1956. This is a beautiful picture of the deck. The promenade deck on board Titanic, a system of cables and davits to support the lower and lifeboats cluttered on the first-class promenade, is the reason the White Star Line limited the number of lifeboats to a minimum required by existing regulations. Of course, everything changed after this tragedy, and I love those pictures. Look at the davits, the lifeboats, look at the chairs stacked up, just amazing. Can't get enough of Titanic. Well, those of you that follow my channel kind of know that. You can see this is one of the collapsible lifeboats taken on board Carpathia. In addition to the traditional wooden lifeboats, the Titanic was equipped with 4 dinghies or folding rafts. A collapsible A, B, C, and D, and a photo above D was lowered into the sea with about 25 people on board. But with 47 seats being available, this was one of the many paradoxes of the evacuation that not one managed in a rational way due to the unpreparedness of the crew, who had not been trained to deal with such an emergency. Mrs. Rosenbaum's pig. Okay. Passenger Edith Louise Rosenbaum had a lucky charm, an extremely realistic pig-shaped music box that had been a gift from her mother. Edith was slow to board the lifeboat, and she did not want to abandon her baggage. 19 trunks of fashionable clothes and jewelry. When a sailor snatched a pig from her hands and threw it into the boat, Edith went after it, and her life was saved. During the time the lifeboat, other surviving passengers remember that Edith played the music box and entertained the terrified children until help arrived. Today, the pig is a place of honor at the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich. It has recently been restored and can once again play the music that was used to comfort the children. Can't you just see this self-indulged first-class passenger complaining that there wasn't enough room in a lifeboat for their luggage? Okay, now we go to the instructions, and you can see the parts list. Look at that. You see the pistons, and these were, if I'm not mistaken, close to being 3 stories high. You can see the parts in this issue. Cylinders, piston rods, connecting rods, stop plate, crankshaft, the smoke generator. Oh, so I'm sorry, that's not a speaker, that's a smoke generator. And the smoke generator tester unit. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. You can see the pistons. Take the 4 starboard right cylinders, 3H, 3G, 3F, and 3E. Look at that. Oh man, I can't wait to get started. And the connecting rods. The crankshaft. Can you guys imagine what it was like to be in the engine room of the Titanic? Like I said, these things are the size of a 3-story house. It must have been just incredible. Man, I wish there was footage somewhere of the inside of the engine room. Even to the Titanic, the Olympic or the Britannic would be fascinating. You can see the next steps. That's so cool. You can see the gear that's going to go on. It's going to actually allow it to move. And is that it? Yep. This is the last page. You can see we're going to clip it in. And you can see a little button. take the smoke generator and the smoke generator testing unit and put 2 AAA batteries in. So in order to do it, to test the smoke generator, wet a wet paper towel, and then place a disc of the generator on top of it. The orientation of the metallic disc in position so that the sides of the wire were attaches on top. Hold down the button, and after a few moments you will see a trail of smoke coming out of the center of the disc. So I'm not sure how this is going to work. So does this heat up and it evaporates the water, I'm wondering? And you can see the completed work for this section. And this is issue or magazine 3. And let's see, we've got number 4 now. And I think that's it. That's everything in the box, and I don't have the, so far I don't see the tin. Okay, you can see the bow, part of the hull, the red part below the waterline, and the connecting parts for the engine. Nice. Again, look at these fantastic pictures. The final moments. The greatest of all ships and the greatest of all shipping disasters, the Titanic and the perils of the Atlantic, excuse me. You can see the size of the iceberg. The dimensions of the Titanic are often compared with large buildings as tall as 14 stories, as long as 3 football fields as well. A page of the Daily Telegraph compared the icebergs to London's St. Paul Cathedral. And incidentally, guys, I've also done a video where I went through the Daily Telegraph, covering the disaster in depth. I love these illustrations. Strange signals. Some witnesses remembered hearing gunshots at 2:10 a.m. in the area controlled by First Officer Murdoch. The boarding of lifeboats was becoming unmanageable. You guys remember the movie Titanic, James Cameron's 1997 version. Officer Murdoch takes his own life, and I guess that wasn't very popular amongst the family members. And I don't blame them, because it's all speculation. In the months that following the disaster, the events were depicted in many newspapers and magazines, including publications for children. The Titanic was the stuff of legend, a name to carry with pride, an invisible enemy, rich and famous passengers, few heroes to celebrate, 1,000 tales to tell. An image from the Italian publisher dating from in 1938, painting a dramatic picture of the passengers escaping the lifeboat. Look at that one. Look at that, that's an amazing illustration. I wish I could paint like that. I look at some of the illustrations like from Ken Marshall, and he is just amazing. I attempted to do a freehand painting of the Titanic. I did the video from start to finish, and he's got nothing to worry about. My talents are nowhere near as good as his. The cover of a French magazine, Le Petit Journal, for November 1907, carries the portraits of the French scientist Edward Branly and Guglielmo Marconi, who opened the first wireless telegraph link between Paris and Casablanca. See, I may want to make sure I pronounce this gentleman's name. Guglielmo Marconi left a photograph with his assistant George Kemp at Cabot Tower on Signal Hill, Newfoundland, in Canada, while conducting the first experiments in wireless telegraphy. The illustration shows the antenna of the radio station in Glace Bay, Nova Scotia, Canada, from where the Marconi sent the first transatlantic wireless telegraph message. It was received at Clifton Station, County Galway, Ireland. 29 words were sent across a distance of 3,120 kilometers, or 1,940 miles, in just 2 minutes. Isn't it amazing going through all this? The Marconi room of the Titanic was all that equipment and your iPhone today can just blow it away and do so much more. Can you imagine if you had an iPhone on the Titanic? Mountain of Steel Part 2. Again, I love when they go into the pictures. The vast steel plates were riveted in place on the hull of the ship, but their manufacture is the subject of some controversy. The ship's hull takes shape at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast. Look at that, huh? It's amazing because the way they do the construction of these ships now, I did a video on the history of the Ada Blue, and they actually have blocks that come pre-made, and they lower the block into place and then they weld it. So it's a real different way of shipbuilding as opposed to the way it was in the days of Titanic, where they laid the keel and then they kind of ribbed it up, built the frame and added it on. And again, that's an iconic picture. The anchor on the port bow is clearly visible in his photo, taken when the ship was ready to launch. I love that picture. Beautiful. Nice picture. Gorgeous, actually. Titanic ready to sail. Steam comes from 3 of the 4 funnels. One was only decorative, as the tugs led the ship out of the harbor. Like all workers in large industrial businesses in Europe at the time, the workers at Harland and Wolff had to endure harsh working conditions, particularly when it came to safety standards. The Titanic began to claim victims well before the shipwreck. The ship records a mention of 246 injured, 28 previously seriously injured, with amputations and crushed limbs, and above all, 6 dead. Among the victims, 2 young workers deserved mention were John Kelly, a 19-year-old from Belfast, and Samuel Joseph Scott, who was only 15. They both died due to fall from ladders and scaffolding. Samuel, whose body was buried in an unidentified grave in Belfast Cemetery, is today remembered by a memorial stone in the same cemetery. It honors his memory along with all the victims of the ocean liner before and after the shipwreck. They definitely did not have any OSHA-type standards back then. Well, OSHA, I'm sorry, I don't know if OSHA is just in the United States or if it's a worldwide safety thing. More parts inside the port side of the hull. We got the lower port hull section, the port hull section, the bow, lower connecting panel, and 9 6x4mm screws. And they give a spare. I love it because during the course of the Build the Enterprise from Eagle Moss, let's say you have a packet, it's got 5 screws in it, where you're going to need 4. And they always give an extra. And that's always good to have. You can see how it's going to go together. And the plate that's going to secure it, and we can attach other parts of the hull to. And you can see we got the nameplate. 2 more hull sections and a connector have been fitted into the port side of the hull. The nameplate has been fixed. So, awesome. This is part 4. We got 3, 2, we got 1, and that's everything in the box. All right, so we're gonna go through. Let's see. You can see hatchet at the bottom, and it doesn't have a number, but we'll start with this one. All right, so let's kind of peel away, and I like how they have the tray to keep everything in. You know, kind of like the beginning of the Build the Enterprise, but now they have kind of plastic bags. There we go. And there's an inner tray. Actually, let's keep everything in that inner tray. Look at that. Let's go right into it. This is metal. And this is relatively lightweight. This is a lot, it seems a lot lighter than the Enterprise sections, but it's very Very durable. It is metal. And look at the detail in the panels. Gorgeous. And let's see, we got, love it. Look at the portholes. Absolutely beautiful. And we've got a, I guess these screws are universal, whereas in the Build the Enterprise, they're all different types, but this is, there's no label on that, so that's just regular screws. And the brace, or the bracket, that's going to hold the plates together is plastic. All right, let's take a look at this one. And you can see the pistons, and look at the crankshaft. And it looks like the circuit board for the smoke tester and the smoke creator. All right, let's get this one open. All right, again, we'll keep it in the tray. It'll be easier to show you guys. Look at that. Beautiful. And this is all metal. Love the detail in that. And we've got two of these. And let's see the crankshaft. Is this metal? Yep, crankshaft is metal. Picture the propulsion unit for the Titanic. Gorgeous. It looks like there's a little gear. And eventually, it looks like this is how the engine is going to function. You can see a little gear wheel. We've got up. So I spoke too soon in the last issue. Look, we've got BM screws. Sound familiar? Those of you who follow my channel. We got BM and CM screws, and it seemed like the BM is the most popular screw for the Build the Enterprise. And you can see these little brackets that are going to hold everything together. And there's two of these, and these are plastic. And let's see, there are two of these as well. Keep everything in place. Let's check out this smoke maker. And again, I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. I don't know if this is going to generate heat and it's going to evaporate the moisture, but we'll find out. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Again, I thought it was a speaker when I first saw it. And speaking of the smoke maker, we have the tester right here. You can see where we're going to put the batteries in. 2 AAA batteries. And you can see the clips. I'm going to go right over there. And you got the little button right there to test it. So, let's see, what are these? This is for the 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 of these. You can see these are the connecting rods for the pistons and the crankshaft. And these are plastic. And there's 4 of those. And let's see, and these look like different kinds. You can see they connect something. These are plastic as well, and there's 4 of those. All right, so what are these things? Got more detail. And this is going to go together. I think it's this. Yeah, these are the same. There's 4 of those, and it looks like there's 2 of these. You can see the smoother ones. can see where it's going to be screwed into place. There are 2 of these. And let's see, it looks like there are 2 of these as well. Yep, there's 2 of this kind. So this is going to be amazingly fun. And that's everything that's in this issue. Look at that. Right, let's open up this one. And let's see, right off the bat we got more screws. These are AM screws. And look at that, we got the nameplate for her. Looks so tiny. Even in 1/200 scale, but you know guys, the span of the actual letters in the name Titanic, they were actually carved into the metal. And it covered a span of 50 feet. So even in 1/200 scale, this looks so tiny, but in life this would have been 50 feet long. All right, let's take a look at the hull. Look at that. And again, this is metal. This is definitely going to be a nice sturdy model. Beautiful. And let's see, we got the below the waterline. So these are gorgeous. And I think this is the bracket that's going to hold it together. And this is plastic. And let's see, we got our screwdriver. Just like the Eagle Moss. Matter of fact, I used the Eagle Moss one that we got for a lot of things. And that's everything that's in this shipment. There's not a whole lot, but you can see the formation of the bow. And lastly, you can see that beautiful, beautiful woodwork on the wooden deck. Dying to get to this. Let's check this out first. Look at that. Love that fresh kind of wood, fresh cut wood smell. Look at all of that. This is just amazing. And you can see the adhesive on the back. We're going to take it off and we're actually going to stick it onto the frame or the deck of the ship. That's just gorgeous. Beautiful. Speaking of the deck, or the part of the forecastle deck, the foredeck, excuse me. This is plastic, but it's heavy plastic. You can see where the center anchor is going to go. And plastic, but it's thick. This is just like 1/8 of an inch thick, so this is very sturdy. This is going to be an amazing model. Amazing. And it looks like these are the 2 little walls that are going to go on either side of the hatch. Again, that's that famous part of the ship from the bow section. Let's go right to that then. We got the hatch cover. Beautiful. And let's see, we got an anchor that just shot across. Be careful. The anchor just took off on me. And the anchor is made of plastic. Alright, put that aside, and we have a packet of these bollards. Could be the bollards. I know these are the steam vents. And we got other vents. These are more vents and some of the steam vents. Oh, we got more bollards. Amazing. And is that everything? Yep. That's everything in this excuse me, that's everything in this. Okay, my friends. So that was everything that was in shipment number 1. We got issues 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is going to be an amazing, amazing build. So if you are curious about what came in the first shipment, I hope it satisfied your curiosity. And because I don't want the videos to last 12 hours, we're going to do the build in a totally different video. But I'm going to be doing that. Look for that to come up very, very shortly. And until the build, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.